Welcome back to the Drive-In Asylum double feature, and we really hope you enjoyed our first feature, The Night God Screamed. The reaction in the chat seems to have been pretty positive, and neither one of my co-hosts tonight had seen the movie before this, so I'm interested to get everybody's thoughts. Whoever wants to go first.
I really liked it. I thought it was really good.
I really liked it. It had a twist that surprised me, and then a second twist that surprised me even further.
So I'm going to give it the LA compliment, which is to say, so you're always watching your friends' movies or people suggest things to you, and you go, "Oh yeah, like the font in the opening credits was really good." But if you actually like it, then you'll say, "That's actually really good." So that's what I have to say about this movie. That was actually really good.
That's my wrestling trick. If I didn't see someone's match, I say, "Oh, does that new gear? I really like your new gear. Like, did you change your music?"
Right.
And then otherwise, you don't want to get into a whole long discussion about how bad it was.
Yeah.
I really loved the end from her going up the steps to the end of the movie. Really ratcheted up the tension, which was already pretty high, but it was really great.
I did sort of, I can't remember at what point it was right before the end, right, where I kind of figured out the twist. I think it was because I was thinking back, and that guy, the older brother, had said to her, like, I was thinking about how at the trial my dad said there was a hooded guy that got away, and like it sounded like he was trying to plant that fear in her head, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, are they fucking with her? And then I guess they were, but then I guess the phone calls were real, right? And those hippies that were following her were really from the cult. So
that's what I liked. It was like the tool that they used to frighten her really existed. Like the boogeyman that they had made was really out there the whole time.
Yeah.
That's what's good about this. That the first time I saw it, that surprise ending totally shocked me. I was not expecting it. And I think Tracy said she was expecting some Geico caveman hippie death cult action. I was too, but they were just sort of like a boogeyman that they never really brought out of the shadows because something else was going on. And it was all because they didn't want to stay home.
I really loved the last shot of the lights going out in the house and you kind of hear what's happening. I thought that was a really cool way of ending it. They should have pulled out and it was like Tate and LeBlanca streets.
All right.
Like really hammer it home at the end what was happening.
Well, it's sort of kind of like even though it, you can see there's like a California flag in the courtroom. I still think it's kind of like, it kind of feels like Blood and Lace in the way that even though it's shot in LA and on the fringes of Hollywood, it feels as regional as Don't Look in the Basement.
Yeah.
Ooh.
They should have done it where it's like in the foreground you see someone with a big fork coming in the house. But yeah, it really feels like if you told me this was made in North Carolina or Texas, I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because I thought when I saw the trailer, I thought, oh, this will be like in Arizona or something. I thought, or New Mexico or something like that. So
yeah, I like how the act that the girls put on of like being like kind of spaced out kind of happened to them for real after it really happened. Like after they realized they actually killed someone, the same way that they play acted kind of happened again.
Yeah.
I like your comment, Nora. They were shitty.
Well, because they were like, you saw he was like, I'll buy you a car if you stay home. And the kid didn't even want to, like, he's like, I'll buy you a new car if you stay home all weekend. And the kid's like, meh. I'm like, for a new car? Like, just for 2 days, just shut up and stay home. Jesus.
He's the dad's rid of all of them.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. He really came out ahead.
Well, this is before Snapchat and TikTok. So what were they going to do? Shut up in the house all weekend.
Watch TV and talk on the phone.
Watch monster movies on TV on Saturday.
Well, it was funny. The mom was like, don't spend all weekend on the phone. And I'm like, well, why not? Like, it's not hurting anybody. And you're making them stay inside.
We want to go to a show at the Whiskey.
Oh, yeah. Whiskey at Go-Go and watch Peter Carpenter dance.
Yeah.
I'll go sit in my room and stare at the blank wall.
So I was looking at the IMDb listings for the other kids, and the youngest guy, Jim was his name Jimmy, was in a bunch of Roger Corman movies, and he was in, I think it was Summer School Teachers, and his character name is Joe Dante.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm the worst person. My mom would be like, "You're going to go to your room," and I'm like, "That's exactly where I want to be."
Yeah.
Thank you for the punishment. All my Fangorias are waiting.
Yeah. I mean, if they really want to punish you, they make you sit in like the dining room or something.
Yeah. Sit in this chair and look at the wall. I really got to commend Nora for using the word adjudicate, which is pretty amazing. So I'm impressed. As a writer, I'm impressed. So.
Nora was actually making the phone calls in this film.
Yeah, your father's a horrible judge. Not because of that case, just in general. He's not good.
Argo Morpheus says he thought the kids were going to be in on it. I thought that too. After I saw that after they revealed themselves the first time, I'm like, oh, are they in the cult? But no, they were. I can't remember if we were live when you said this, Mike, that they were the real targets of the hippies anyway, because they were the judge's kids that sentenced them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense. I was thinking, because they were saying, because their whole shtick was that they were going to try to convince her to run away to save them. Like, if you leave, the killer will leave us alone. And it's like, yeah, well, actually, they're not innocent, you know. Like they're related to the dude who banged the gavel and sentenced the cult leader to death. So
I like what David said. Is lacrosse practice really worth murdering someone over? Exactly. It wasn't like he was going to go pro. Like, there's not really. I guess there's pro lacrosse, but it's not like something you're going to like make your living on. And he's like, I don't know.
I did think it was kind of shitty that the parents made them stay home when they had plans.
Yeah.
Like, they were going to do things like just nice things like, you know, practice or go to do work on their play or whatever. And the parents are like, no, you don't have to stay home. And it's like,
well, that's what he said when he hired her in the first place. He's like, what if I told them to stay home? An even worse idea.
Oh,
ground them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And then she didn't want to babysit because she said it would rattle her nerves too much if they went out and didn't come home early enough or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was her fault after all.
So, like, Darren mentioned that they were all like super old. One thing that I thought was really not just that the teenagers were old, because teenagers are often old in movies like this, but they were all the same age. Like, there was four kids and they were all 16 to 18. Like, how did they do that? Were the two girls and the oldest guy triplets, and then the other one was like 9 months younger or something?
Was this really a Brady Bunch family? We said that there's a lot of Brady Bunch similarities. That you know, was it a blended family? So they were all close to that age.
Yeah.
Well, and he said that it was in the same universe as Blood and Lace.
Yeah, they all came from the orphanage and Blood and Lace. They were all adopted in their 20s. Now they've been there 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It does, like, Blood and Lace and The Night God Screamed have a feel to them that's very similar because of, I guess, probably because of the creative team behind it. Kind of like the way that all the Philip Jordan Utah movies look and feel the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I didn't check the company credits, but I'm pretty sure Blood and Lace and The Night God Screamed probably share a few behind the scenes people.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Speaking of Night Train, I forgot to tell you, Joe Bob's doing a tour and he's showing it at a couple places.
What?
Yeah, which makes me super excited.
And is Darcy going to be like, what's this movie?
Yeah. This is dumb.
This movie's dumb. It had good kills.
That's the limit for me whenever there's like this guy, like, I don't want to talk about Night Train to Terror anymore. It's like me just shutting off on someone. I'm like, no. We're talking about it a lot.
I love that she keeps pushing for Halloween 3. Has he done it yet?
No.
They did it at the live thing last year, but I think we've all seen it. I don't know. We've all seen it.
Lee is right. It is a grim little gem of a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really good. It's not that I didn't expect it to be good. It's just that I kind of I had this more of a cynical idea behind it, and I was like, oh, yeah, they probably had Gene Crane, but I mean, it's like Gil Lasky. He doesn't usually disappoint. Like The Gay Deceivers is a good movie. Like Blood and Lace is a good movie. I don't know why I didn't expect this one to be good, but I wasn't thinking it would be, and I was like genuinely surprised by how good it was.
And I think we were talking during it, like this could have played on TV.
Oh yeah, I mean it's PG rated. It's like it's like a TV movie. I mean, aside from like the drowning death is probably the most violent thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not like nothing in it. I think even like a second or two could have been cut at most, but it could definitely air on TV. And
there was that stabbing scene though in the backyard where the hooded figure grabs Peter Brady.
Oh yeah,
and starts stabbing him.
But
this was very Brady Bunch because it reminded me of the episode where the boys scare the girls and then the girls scare the boys, and then at the end everybody scares Alice.
right.
And she breaks Mrs. Brady's bust of Mr. Brady. Oh, it ends so horribly.
Yeah. Well, so I looked up The Night God Screamed and I couldn't find any TV listings. The only thing I kept coming across was that when it came out, when Transworld put it out on VHS in 1987, all the newspapers that would say the video, it's so weird to think that as late as like 1987 they were advertising like new on video this week, The Night God Screamed.
Yeah.
And the Night God Screamed was as old back then as a movie from like 2006 would be now.
Yeah.
But so much more happened, I feel like, in the culture. Like, I feel like the difference between 71 and 87 is so much greater than the difference between 2006 and 2023. Like, there's
100%.
Yeah.
They promoted the hell out of it on home video, too. Vince Cornelius has a cardboard standee for The Night God Screamed.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Okay, so it's like Blood and Lace and The Night God Screamed took weird turns being popular and unpopular. Like Blood and Lace had a really successful, or at least, kind of omnipresent theatrical run, but it was gone. It was never on VHS or anything. And The Night God Screamed had a really lackluster theatrical, but it's the only one that actually made it to video and was in video stores in the 80s and stuff.
Blood and Lace did play on TV, though, and I never watched it. Every single time it was on, I don't know why I passed it over. It was the first time I ever saw it when I saw it at the drive-in, and it mesmerized me.
You weren't ready for it then. Like, you needed to like grow into it, I think.
I guess. I probably wouldn't have appreciated it when I was younger. You're right, because I couldn't look at things like, does everyone in this orphanage look like they're 25? And why are they trapped there? Like they can't leave when she's being so horrible.
The world of these two movies, kids look older than they are. There's a big jump. And
for some reason, in the world of Blood and Lace, you're not a legal adult until you're 21. Like they have to be in the orphanage till they're 21. And I'm like, be full. Like you can, in some states even let you drink beer at 18.
Yeah, they have to. Well, it's actually 40, but they say 21.
I guess it would make sense because Jeannie Crane is 45 in this film, and they say she's an old bag.
Yeah. Yeah. First, she's walking past the window, and she's like, "Everything is so old," and like looks at herself. And then that hippie dude, is like flirting with her in the car, and he's like, "Yeah, I like old things." And she's like 45. She's younger than me in this movie.
Well, also, it's like back then, 45 was considered old, but she even dresses like old, like kind of. You know what I mean? Like marmish, I guess is the right way of saying it.
It's definitely a look for her.
Yeah.
I wonder if she wasn't working so much around this time, which leads me to believe she probably must have liked the script or something, because I don't really see her as being like, it's not like she was like out there like hustling like in everything. Like maybe she, she was an old timey like studio star, so maybe she liked this movie because she's like, oh well, these other movies have sex and violence, and this one is a good old-fashioned story of a paranoid woman. And like,
this was one of the last films she did. I think she
definitely had that acting moment as she was like screaming on the couch. Like that was like she's like, let me show these kids why I was nominated for an actress award.
Yeah,
And,
there was a couple of moments where I'm like, yeah, this is why she signed on, or this, she insisted on this. Like, well, if I'm going to be in this movie, I want one scene where the camera slow zooms in on my eyes while they repeat guilty over and over or something, you know, like.
She was doing TV around this time too, like mostly like there's a ton of, it's the way people were working then. Like you weren't getting movies after like 57, 58. You were just doing TV and mostly guest roles, but then you'd be like, oh, you were a special guest star because you were from the movies.
Right.
Like a Rick Dalton.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if she, you know, she lived for quite a bit after this. I think she died in like 2003 or something. She never did like the Love Boat thing or the Fantasy Island thing. I think she was largely retired by that point.
It's funny, like I always think of like Murder, She Wrote, Heart to Heart, Love Boat, Fantasy Island. Like those shows use so many people per episode.
Yeah.
That like if you like an actor, there's a good chance that they appeared on those shows.
Yeah, they would always use them. Maureen McCormick was on Fantasy Island like 7 times or something for some reason. And in one episode, it was great. She played this girl with telekinetic powers who was like using them against the girl, like the girls on that were her competition for the gymnastics squad or something.
I like that there's some episodes of Fantasy Island that are like kind of like, oh yeah, when people just come here and good things happen to them. And there's other ones where like there's dinosaurs on the island. You know what I mean? Like there's just like, it's supernatural. Mr. Rourke might be the devil. Like the ones that really lean into the supernatural side.
Remember the one with Linda Day George where she meets Frankenstein?
Yeah.
Oh, how could I forget?
There's also one that's weirdly prescient where it's just a throwaway thing at the beginning of the show where like Tattoo is holding this like little smartphone looking thing, and Mr. Rourke is like, "What is that?" And he's like, "It is a supercomputer. My cousin gave it to me." And he's like texting and like looking at it, and Mr. Rourke is like, "Will you put that away?"
I wonder if it had Wi-Fi.
I think so, but it was weird because Mr. Rourke's like not into it. He's not impressed. He's like, "Oh, it is a computer. Okay, well, put it in your pocket. We have to greet the guests."
I'm going to go. I think after I finish Night Gallery on the site, that's going to be my next show to do a weekly review of
Fantasy Island.
Yeah, because there's so many people that were on it. It might be a good one to kind of dig into, I think. Either that or a season of Super Train. I only have to do like 5 episodes and I'm done.
Super Train.
You should do that episode of Fantasy Island, I think where like Eve Plum and Allison Arngrim are on, and Allison Eve Plum has like never met her mother or something. Her mother died in childbirth, and so she gets to go back in time and meet her mother, and her mother is played by Allison Arngrim, but her mother is like a prostitute.
Oh man.
And at the end of the episode, I think like Eve Plum is pregnant. She's like, "I'm going to name my daughter Hooker."
What's funny is we went to an ad awards a couple weeks ago and ran into one of the guys that runs the casting, one of the casting agencies in town. And my wife said, "Has he ever acted?" And I said, "Yeah, he's in an episode of TJ Hooker, and he showed it to me once, and he never showed it to me again because I would not stop making fun of him about it. Because he plays a cop who gets into cocaine and decides to kill Hooker before Hooker finds out that he's a drug dealer. And there's just one scene of him screaming, 'Hooker!' And I was like, man, this is the greatest that you're in this." And he was also in a TV movie where he was a blind Amish guy. That was a Hallmark TV movie. And he was like slowly going blind. And man, it's really great. Like a Little House on the Prairie, but with like darkness in it.
I always keep forgetting to do this. I need to download a couple of episodes of TJ Hooker, and I just want to post on Instagram just like a super cut of people saying Hooker.
Yeah.
So just have like Adrian Zmed and like Heather Locklear or whatever just going Hooker, Hooker, Hooker.
That show got like 4 seasons though. It lasted a while.
It was kind of a big deal.
Yeah. It's pretty much like, I would say that like whenever, if you were talking about William Shatner and you were trying to explain like who he was and the person had never seen Star Trek or didn't like, you'd just say TJ Hooker and they'd be like, "Oh yeah. Okay."
Yeah. it was. I mean, that's pretty amazing to get 2 shows that have runs like that for Shatner. So good for him.
Yeah.
I guess in Boston Legal too. That lasted a while when he was on.
Yeah. Although I feel like by that point he was already just so William Shatner. Like TJ Hooker is actually like a character that he inhabits, whereas I think like maybe like anything after that he's just playing himself, playing somebody. Yeah.
He was did a lot of his own wacky stunts on Hooker too, where he'd roll over the car. And like, do you know what I mean? It'd always be him like sliding over the car or getting in the car different ways. And in the 80s, none of us got in the car the right way. Like the Dukes wouldn't even open a door. I mean,
right.
they were welded shut. But
they
you
were
know what I mean?
shut.
Yeah. They're welded shut because that's how the stock cars were.
But you're going to love that when the car rolls over and catches on fire.
Yeah, but you can't get out of it. I wanted to do that so bad as a kid, and I was as fat as a kid as I am now. So I would always like try to jump into the car window in my parents' station wagon, and they're like, "You aren't allowed to do that."
That ranks up there with like putting a bunch of kids in the bed of a pickup truck and flying down the highway.
You know, it's so funny. Like people like, so I remember like when I was a kid, we lived maybe like 2.5, like maybe 2 hours or 2.5 hours away from the nearest amusement park. And at least twice a year, like my friend across the street, like his mom would put me and him and like our friend Timmy in the back of the pickup truck and drive us down to Santa Clara, California to go to, you know, Six Flags. And she would just tell us like, you know, when we go through San Francisco, like, you know, pull the blankets over your head so no one can see that you're in the back. And we didn't think anything of it. We didn't think it was dangerous or anything. And now it's like, you know, people would, you know,
more like you probably just trusted the adults in your life not to do something that would endanger your life so nonchalantly.
Well, I think it's also, it's like, you know, we always keep seeing those memes now or like whatever about how Gen X was so kind of ignored, you know, like we drank out of the hose and our parents didn't even know when we had school or not and stuff. And like, I never thought that was weird. Like I never really knew any of my friends' parents. They always just kind of existed in the background and like we just did what we wanted. It was like the Peanuts or something, you know, we were just like kids who existed and like adults were just going like, wah, 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 and we're like over here. As opposed to now, like all my Gen X friends are like obsessed with their children. Like they just follow them around. Like, look, he made us, he did this, he did that. Look, he's in school. Like one of my friends is like, we're moving towns. We're going to move back to San Francisco. And I'm like, why? And she's like, my daughter wants to go to school there. And I'm like, you're switching towns for your kid. Like my mom would not like, it would be unheard of for like anybody in my generation's parents to like compromise their own life for the child. And so
the kid was,
I think about that a lot. Is like his kids, like we left the house like around 11 or 12 every morning and we'd come back when it was dark. My parents really had no idea. Like we may check in for lunch, but do you know what I mean? Like we were rarely supervised or did anything.
Yeah.
There were definitely extended periods of time where we weren't checking in with her because there were no cell phones or anything. And, you know, you just went off and did your thing sometimes in the summer. Not when we were real little. Like I didn't start doing that probably till I was like at least 9. I mean, I wasn't 6 years old out wandering around.
Right. And you only knew where you only knew like if you saw the bikes in the driveway, you knew that that's where everyone was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill, speaking of your hometown, they knocked down the the smokestacks in your
smokestacks. Yeah,
I watched it on the news.
Probably the reason I'm going to end up diagnosed with cancer at some point in my life. Those 2 smokestacks that billowed poison out into the air around Springdale, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jim Drummond. Probably you too.
I think Pennsylvania just sounds like a very dangerous state. It's like between the air quality and like the radon in the basements and like just like everybody.
There's a lot of bad shit here.
There's like a lot like fried everything.
You got to get buying subsidence insurance. That trains just randomly go off the tracks. Yeah, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess what's like it's better than Ohio, right?
Yeah.
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 I'll drink to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say.
Well, I think Pittsburgh is definitely so like their air quality has improved so much. Like I remember when I was growing up, people would talk about it like it was just, you know, you couldn't see 2 feet in front of you. And then now it just seems like it's kind of.
They said that people used to have clothes that they kept in like sealed boxes to wear whenever they had to dress up. Because if you washed your clothes and had them on the line, everything would just progressively get gray and dark.
Oh wow.
You know what I mean?
Ew.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. We're not the late movie.
Well, there still is a working steel mill outside of Monongahela, like just so you know. And occasionally it smells like rotten eggs when we leave the house. It's very nice.
Oh, really? Well, there is. I mean, I never lived there, but like in Central California, like all of Central California smells like cow shit because there's just manure everywhere. Like it's part of like it's because of the agriculture, and people who live there don't smell it because they live there.
Yeah.
So when you go there, you drive there, and it's like the whole place smells like cow shit. And I'm like, you people, like you live here, like you live in cow shit. Your clothes are marinated in cow shit molecules. The molecules are in your nose, and they're immune to it. They're just like, whatever.
That's why they're so earthy.
Yeah. I know. It's just so weird to think that like there's some way, the human body is a miraculous thing that can adapt to any situation. So yeah, I want to see Monongahela because I did that Monongahela Mongoloid movie when I was a kid because I love the name of it. So
we got to show it. I want to show it on the show.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's only like 8 minutes long. Like if anybody gets bored, it'll be over.
I would like to show it in downtown Monongahela. Like special filmmakers coming to town.
And it's like Halloween in that it's like it ostensibly takes place in Pennsylvania, but there's like a palm tree in the background and a California license plate and stuff.
If John Carpenter got away with it, we can too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you have one bag of leaves that you just kept bringing out and putting out?
I think yeah, that would be no, but I remember I thought the video looked more colorful if things were wet, so I would spray everything down with a hose before I filmed it because it would make the colors pop.
Did it work?
That's the secret.
Yeah, because everything was kind of dusty and dry in the backyard, so I just spray it with water and then we film.
Oh man,
you shouldn't give away your secrets over the air.
Right.
Yeah. That's your commentary track.
What's that?
Becca just said Spielberg could be watching. Don't give it away.
Our second feature of the evening tonight is The Devil Times 5, a.k.a. The Horrible House on the Hill, a.k.a. People Toys.
Yeah.
Which that's a pretty amazing title. Is this one new to you, Mike Justice?
Yeah, I don't know why I've never seen this. It was at every video store forever, and I always skipped it. And then I've known about it as an adult and always read about it and stuff. But I think has it come out on like Blu-ray?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't
know.
Screen
Factory put it out. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. See, usually if I haven't seen it, I'll usually get it. Watch the Scream Factory thing. But yeah, no, I have not seen this yet.
Sam, you've seen it, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, what do you think of this movie?
I dig it. It's very strange, and it's in. I mean, it's 5 kids outwitting a group of the dumbest adults ever.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I like that, and it also kind of has a TV movie feel to it a bit, so that's probably why I like it.
And it has Rosario.
Yeah, and Sorrel Brook, TV's Boss Hogg.
Oh, so many. Who isn't in this movie? Leif Garrett.
Yeah. And Leif Garrett's mom and sister.
They just covered this on Hysteria Continues.
Oh, did they? Awesome.
Yeah, that's right. And they were talking about but I hadn't seen I hadn't seen it, so I could like the show wasn't that when if I listen to a podcast about a movie I haven't seen, sometimes I'll just zone out because I can't really, relate to what they're talking about.
It's funny. I think if you were like a younger person, you only know Leif Garrett from like Celebrity Rehab. Yeah. You know what I mean? You've like missed like the time when he ran the world in the 70s for a while. So it's weird that like this is before his, I guess, rock and roll pop star career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's way before his other career where he walked around with a stocking cap on and talked about losing his friends and all the horrible stuff he had done to them on Celebrity Rehab.
I don't remember. I don't think I ever watched Celebrity. I do remember there was a season with Was Charo on that, or that was The Surreal Life?
Yeah, she was on The Surreal Life.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. I love Charo because as a kid, like she would, because I was obsessed with The Tonight Show as a kid. And every time she'd be on, I'd ask my mom, like, what is she like known for? My mom would be like, nobody knows.
Right.
She's just Charo.
Yeah.
Like, does she have albums? Did she like? I guess she's in one of the airport movies.
She's a badass player, is what she is.
She was in Airport 79, but like she was already, but that was already at the point where she was just famous for being famous. Like she was wasn't like Sybil Danning in that one too?
Yeah,
Sylvia Kristel's in that one.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, that's like
the time the one where George Kennedy is talking about sleeping with prostitutes, and the stewardess comes in and she goes, "You men talk so horribly." And he goes, "Why do you think they call it a cockpit, baby?" And I'm like, oh. How did George Kennedy go from being the mechanic in the first movie to suddenly being the one that flies the plane in this one? Career paths in the airline industry don't work like that.
I know.
Also, Robert Wagner is the bad guy trying to kill his girlfriend. That wouldn't happen in real life.
Right.
Yeah, my favorite part of that movie, we should really show it. George Kennedy rolls the window down on the Concorde. Does the Concorde have windows like a car? I don't know. I've never flown it, but this movie supposes a heat-seeking missile is tracking them, and he pulls out a flare gun and shoots it out the window, and the missile hits the flare instead of the Concorde.
Did you guys see on the news about how there was a plane, I think maybe in China or Thailand or somewhere, and one of the passengers opened the door?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
They fucking opened the door like some crazy person, and no one got sucked out because everybody was belted in, fortunately, at the time. But they had to land the plane and the door was hanging open.
Oh.
You know what I've always wanted to see? Have you guys ever seen that like Ruggero Deodato made like an airport ripoff with Mimsy Farmer and James Franciscus?
Is it the Concorde Affair?
Yeah, is that good?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's real good.
Okay, I like the soundtrack. It's
yeah,
it's really I have the soundtrack, but I've never seen the movie.
Yeah, all you had to say was like Mimsy Farmer, and I'm like, yeah, it's wonderful. It's great. She's good in everything.
Yeah.
What can't Mimsy Farmer do? Her breakdown scene in Four Flies on Grey Velvet.
Well, the New York Times actually pointed that out. I have the review, and they said this movie's stupid, except Mimsy Farmer does handle one scene brilliantly.
See,
yeah,
they knew they couldn't take that away from her, even if they didn't like the movie.
Yeah, I always tell this story, but so like Sam talks about how his parents went on a date to see Bird with the Crystal Plumage. And my mom went to go see Four Flies on Grey Velvet at a film festival, and it was like, that was the stupidest thing I ever saw. It made no sense, and it had that awful Mimsy Farmer in it. She's like a poor man's Mia Farrow. I don't even know why she's famous.
That's such an insult. Oh.
And
she says those things about Mimsy Farmer.
And for years after that, like whenever I talk about, like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna order some Argento bootlegs or whatever. She's like, oh gosh, you're gonna get that Four Flies, that awful movie that makes no sense.
Bullshit.
Did you ever see Monkey Solari?
Yeah.
Autopsy.
I love Autopsy, although it's so weird because I watched it. I had to watch it I watch it like once every couple of years, and I always forget who the killer is and why. And then I'll watch it and be like, oh yeah, that's right.
That happens to me all the time with all those movies.
Yeah.
It's like seeing them for the first time sometimes.
Sometimes you'll watch one, and when it's over, like Lizard and Woman Skin, we're like, yeah, I don't really know what happened.
Something happened.
I loved it. But who knows?
Yeah, well, and then IMDb used to spoil the whole ending. Like the whole plot synopsis of Lizard in a Woman's Skin was a closeted lesbian kills people to keep from so they won't find out she's gay. And I'm like, sort of.
Yeah.
That'd be like saying a killer dwarf stalks Venice and Don't Look Now.
You know, we were talking about how, like, why didn't Tisa Farrow play Rosemary, and look what happened to Rosemary's Baby?
Yeah.
Because she was doing TV movies around that time, right? So she is the poor man's Mia Farrow. Like, I don't know why she didn't play her.
Maybe she was working.
She was too busy making, what was that movie she was in, Satan's School for Girls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
that movie where she was born on a boat, Zombie.
I was born on a boat. Oh no, not another boxcar.
Don't bring my mother into this.
You leave my mother out of this. Yeah. She was. I liked her in Anthropophagus, but she had that voice, that lady who does all the, like, her voice was dubbed by that one woman
Carolyn
did-
Fonseca.
Yeah, who was in, she did Olga in Suspiria, and she also did the hooker in Torso. Like, why do all the freaks have to come my way? Either you're queer or impotent, but I'm getting paid. Like, she sounds like she's like 50 years old.
Oh yeah.
So People Toys, aka Devil Times 5, aka Horrible House on the Hill. It was originally released in May 1974 as People Toys, and this is from Atlanta. It was released in a whole bunch of cities in 74 as People Toys, which I don't know. No one talks about it under that title. I never even knew that was the title until I started doing this page. And I found it. I was like, what the hell is this? Well, it's the Horrible House on the Hill.
It's really disconcerting seeing all those like bobblehead people on that game board.
Here's something for some context. What else was at the cinema with People Toys? Blazing Saddles. Beautiful.
Fantastic
The
Plan.
Exorcist. Beautiful.
And The Last Detail too. Wow.
Things Fall Apart.
World premiere.
Yeah.
What movie is that?
I don't know.
Things Fall Apart.
I don't know.
I didn't notice that. I would have looked it up. Spoiler alert, movie people. 8 people will die horribly. Who will kill them? 4 little angels of death.
I mean, I think that's who's going to kill him. I think we've answered. Things Fall Apart is a 1971 movie. It looks like a Nigerian movie. It's about the story of Okonowo, a man who lives on the shores of Nigeria and shows the tradition of his people while also telling his life story. So, intriguing.
This is from Cocoa, Florida, near
Oh.
Cocoa Beach. And I know we have at least 2 viewers from Cocoa Beach.
Yeah.
Chip Lamy and his wife, Karen.
Yeah. It looks like David Cross in that to the right. I like that they really set this up. It's like 5 bad seeds. Yep.
Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 5. Did you notice that? 4 little angels of death.
Hey, and if you're a bad kid, you got to come with your parents. Like, under 17, not admitted. So,
who other than a bad child would want to see this, right?
Yeah.
Kid Blue is rated PG, but they specifically say they don't recommend it for children.
Whoa, I know why you picked this ad, Bill.
Yeah.
Son of Dracula playing.
Speaking of Son of Dracula.
Wow. I love that. It's a Parkview too. Oh no, Bill! I said it to Bill, but I found a bunch of Harry Nilsson cassette tapes today at a church sale. It was the most exciting moment of my day. The Nilsson, Son of Smilson cassette tape.
With a still of Son of Dracula on the cover, I'm pretty sure.
It sure did. I was super excited. Wow,
someone had that 8-track when I was growing up.
Oh.
I think that's the album that has "You're Breaking My Heart, You're Tearing It Apart, So Fuck You."
Yeah.
And I used to play that over and over again, and everybody would get mad.
You too could become a people toy. Oh man, I hope everybody's okay tonight watching this.
If you're into being a people toy, hey, that's okay. We're not kink shamers on this show.
You want to be a people toy?
Here's some other things that we're playing with it. The Captive Female, which that's an alternate title of another movie. Do you remember which one?
No.
Can you see the ad?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what it is.
Look on the right-hand side of the ad, right where it says a shocker. What is reaching into the frame there to terrorize that woman who's captive?
A hook?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
You're getting warmer.
Severed arm? Is that what that is?
Mm-mm.
Oh, man. I love that type design on Captive Female.
Wait, you're saying that The Captive Female is a different movie that we know of?
Well, it was one of the very first ones that we ever did on this program.
And it with somebody with a hook for a hand?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat will know. Anyway, this was the alternate title of the movie that has yet to be named, and the reason they chose, well, one of the reasons that they had an alternate title may have been because there was a movie with an identical title that came out 6 weeks away from their own release.
You want me to spoil it? Scream Bloody Murder.
That's right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
What's
ding.
the animals?
It's not eco horror. It's a Western.
Okay.
Sorry to get, that's another lost eco horror film of the 70s.
Wow.
Here's
Twice.
where the title changed to The Horrible House on the Hill.
Yeah.
And that's also when it picked up The Night God Screamed as a co-feature. This is actually from Arizona in October of 74. This was one of the first screenings of this film under this title.
Whoa.
So they released it in spring as People Toys and then put it back out for Halloween as The Horrible House on the Hill.
Wow.
Is it PG rated as well? Devil times 5?
No,
Okay.
it was
R.
R.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, this is definitely an R-rated movie. It's pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
I think so, anyway.
Yeah, and it's kids. Spoiler: kids are killers.
You may have picked that up from the ads.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, this ad is all about Bill right here.
And it's from Pittsburgh.
Oh man.
Uh-huh.
Wow, that's a beautiful ad.
Although they spoil the bathtub scene.
They sure do.
Thanks, movie people. Oh, well, we're not too bitter about that kind of thing on this show because these movies are like, decades old. Let's look at some of the theaters that it was playing. Let's zoom in on that bottom part there.
Oh.
Check this out. The Roxy and McKee's Rocks had it.
Wow, that's awesome.
Are these all drive-ins or are any of them theaters?
These are theaters in Pittsburgh.
Is the Hollywood in Dormont still there?
It is still there. It is different. It was an art theater for a while, and now it's kind of corporate-y kind of theater now. Ardmore's gone, Camp Horn's gone, Green Tree gone, Hampton Plaza is gone. Actually, the Roxy is now a music hall, and yeah, everything else in this is gone.
The Bloodthirsty Devil Men.
In caps.
Yeah, total fake out.
Yeah.
They did also in the trailer that they made for the VHS video. They're like, they're being attacked by people using their demonic powers for revenge. And I'm like, no.
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 Oh, movie people are so unscrupulous.
I know.
Here's some more great co-features. Try this one on for size. They added The Hunchback of the Morgue.
Oh, whoa.
That was Jerry Gross too. This is still Jerry Gross because I Drink Your Blood was a co-feature in a couple screenings.
Is it true that between Cinemation and Jerry Gross organization, he worked at a 7-Eleven?
I'm not sure. I don't know much about him.
So he did this Cinemation. He distributed these movies, and then it went bankrupt. And then it was a few years before the Jerry Gross organization got off the ground. And I read that in the interim, he worked he was a 7-Eleven clerk.
Oh, wow.
I was a 7-Eleven clerk once.
Now you can be a distributor.
Then the title changed to Devil Times 5. This was 1976 when they finally dusted off all these reels, cut a new title in, and sent it back out to theaters.
This is what I first knew it as. So, yeah. And I like that they call out Village of the Damned, which is, I guess something close to it.
Look, The Devil Within Her was at the Cineworld.
Oh.
And
here's a question: the blood feast that feast that played with this was the Herschel Gordon Lewis. Because
Well, there's 2000 Maniacs. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gotta
I was
be.
wondering if it was the canon Blood Feast.
Oh, the Red Queen.
Either that, yeah, or the Silent Night, Bloody Night.
That was called Blood Feast, also.
I'm pretty sure it played as Blood Feast. Let me look it up on my canon.
That's one I missed.
Let me look it up.
Well, I mean, thanks to Bill, I've become aware of so many alternate titles that have never even been touched. Like, remember when you found that ad for Baron Blood and it was called like What Elizabeth Saw or something?
After Elizabeth died.
Yeah, and I'm like, I've never, like, that was like the day, like, you could just cut in a new title.
Oh,
Like,
you're right. It is the Red Queen. You're right. Sorry, guys.
oh yeah, yeah, and it's got its little. There's a clip of it in New Year's Evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here it is with Bloodthirsty Butchers and Night of the Living Dead.
Love that. This has a lot of cool fonts too.
Devil Times 5 must have seemed like a fucking Spielberg movie compared to the crusty, those crusty little co-features.
Truly. And we're not saying that it's any great shakes. The Devil Times 5.
Oh, the Lindsay. The Lindsay has a really nice font too, Bill.
I'm loving it. That cloud shape that they put around it.
It looks really classy.
I can't remember what's actually going on in this image, but
people are just having dinner.
Beautifully grainy.
Yeah.
Not since Village of the Damned. I'm not a big fan of that movie.
No.
Village of the Damned. How about you guys?
Nah. Not super into it. I'm going to have it on the site next month because I'm doing all the CBS late night movies. So that's one of them.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, I eat your skin. Showing up with this.
Yeah, take a deep breath and consider that.
Yeah, they were trying to get everybody to leave for the third movie. They're like, get the fuck out.
Right.
Like, if it was like I drink your blood, they're like, fuck, people are going to be going crazy for the third movie. But, yeah.
I wouldn't blame anybody that put their lights on and drove out during I Eat Your Skin, I have to say.
Yeah.
Sorry, Del.
Yeah.
Here's something weird.
Oh, yeah.
This is a totally homemade ad.
With the don't look in the basement lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is from Kokomo.
Oh, Bermuda, Bahama. Come on, pretty
mama.
Come on, pretty mama. Caution, these movies are not recommended for those persons with weak hearts. That's really comes up to this a lot. So I'm hoping that I live through the second movie tonight. I made it through the first one. Will I make it through this?
Well, maybe you'll just turn out hopelessly oh no, that's what if you watch Blood Spattered Bride and I Dismember Mama, then you you become hopelessly insane.
Like that guy.
Yeah.
The Orgy of the Living Dead, that triple feature.
Yeah. Whoa, this ad is perfect though. Oh,
this is our last one. It's from Canada.
Man, that ad is great. I like that they put possessed in quotes. Like possessed.
So Canadians are too polite to outright lie to you.
Yeah.
So they'll write possessed, but they'll put quotes around it so that if you get mad that there's no actual possession, they can be like, well, we meant, they were possessed of bad feelings towards
There's
adults.
An asterisk you can't see here, and if you follow the asterisk, it says sorry, pardon. Sorry.
Pardon, but there's no possession. Please don't hate us.
Yeah, please don't be mad. We're sorry.
Font challenged. I love that that's a term.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. There are more ads. I was wrong. There's a couple more. Oh, this is brilliant. Look at that. You might wonder why I had an ad for network here, but look closely underneath of it. It says formerly titled The Horrible House on the Hill.
Whoa. Coarse language throughout.
Mm-hmm. You never knew this was an alternate title for tonight.
No, I didn't realize Faye Dunaway was in Horrible House on the Hill, so I'm super excited about that.
I wish she was in this movie.
Oh, She'd show these kids what for.
No. The movie'd be over in 2 minutes. She just
Yeah, exactly. No.
I'm not doing any of that. Here we go. Halloween Dusk to Dawn show with some amazing features. All of them low rent and out of control cheap.
Man.
Night of the Strangler. That's an inspired choice.
Yeah.
I feel like I Drink Your Blood is probably the biggest budgeted of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those two they're Joy Hauk. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
Yeah.
Joy Hauk. The other one was Women in Bloody Terror, I think.
Yeah.
Was the other
I'm
one.
looking at the other side. The other side's like all blockbusters, other than Heroes, I guess. But like, there's arguably 3 classic movies in Jaws 2. I love Jaws 2. I'm just saying, but like, there's like really big movies, and then the other side's like, hey, but if you're a maniac, we got Horrible House on the Hill, and I Drink Your Blood.
What's up with? I've never heard of Heroes. Is that sort of like a 1970s version of like? Like that, like it's one of those movies. Like I was flipping through the streaming channels today, and I came across that movie with Queen Latifah and Jimmy Fallon.
Taxi.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I forgot that existed. And like, I feel like Henry Winkler and Sally Field being in Heroes is like kind of like that. Like it came out, and people were like, people are gonna love this. Oh, you don't love it? Okay, moving on. And then they just kind of swept it under the rug.
77, and it is Harrison Ford in his first post-Star Wars role. Henry Winkler is a Vietnam vet with PTSD who looks for the former members of his unit. So
sounds entertaining.
Yeah, it's funny that's like the last one. Like everything else is like really big. Like and Fonz as a PTSD vet in Heroes.
He was trying so hard to break out of that TV ghetto that he was in, but he couldn't do it.
I just watched the one and only that he was in, and it's pretty fun from that same time.
I don't think I've ever seen him in a movie except for Scream.
Oh, Little Nicky?
No. No, like I mean Henry Winkler, I don't think I've ever seen him projected onto a theater screen except for a Scream. Yeah.
Oh man.
You saw the best of him on TV. Hey. Why was the Fonz cool? Can anyone answer that?
I think because everybody else in that show was just so normal and kind of milquetoasty that like he kind of just like broke through the show.
He acted like a 70s person.
Yeah.
Like it was a 70s show about the nostalgia of how safe and cool and the 50s was, but then the Fonz was almost like this weird sort of like conduit of like you know what I mean? Like he was like this weird like 70s like person like in their universe. I don't know how to explain it.
He could turn on a too-much just by elbowing it.
He was that creepy guy that graduated high school but never stopped hanging out with high school kids.
He snapped his fingers and bras came apart.
Yeah. And then by the end he became a substitute teacher. Do you know what I mean? He was like a teacher at the school and like, this is not the journey that I wanted Fonz to go on.
Yeah, I mean, like when there was that Christmas episode where he was all upset because like his dad blah blah blah. I'm like, Fonz has daddy issues and he's being honest about them and communicating them. This is not Fonz.
Night Shift. We forgot Night Shift.
I really like Night Shift. That was an HBO watch for me as a kid.
All right, it's time for our Devil Times 5 inspired drink with Robot Sam Panico. So take it away.
Who else is on the cover of Tiger Beat? Oh, Groovy Dooms. Sam Panico. Check out our Mustache Man issue featuring Bill Van Ryn and Sam Panico.
Hey, it's the Sister Hannah drink from Devil Times 5. It's got a lot of alcohol in it too. Can you make it?
There's a lot of clear things.
Who will survive and when will they throw up? An ounce of vodka. Nikolai, back from the grave. 2 ounces of tequila, exactly the amount. This silver is gone.
Tortilla.
It says, makes a perfect margarita. Does it?
It was very cheap.
Does it? I mean, this isn't the selling point. We got some Mott's. Sponsor us, Mott's. To finally, what would make this drink work? Tabasco. What? Apple juice and Tabasco. It's been happening together. They're like peanut butter and jelly. We're going to put them in this drink. Anyway, this movie is about a bunch of kids who live up on a house on the hill and they kill a bunch of people. Leif Garrett's sister and mom are in it. Sorrel Brook, TV's Boss of Hogs, in it. Rosario from Will and Grace is in it.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, it's got a lot of people in it. Anyway, let's make the drink. We're going to do go across the streams. There we go. We got the Russia and Mexico working together to disrupt the Union. But wait, here comes
Don't
America.
build that wall.
Oh no, you can't. You're not allowed to build
Apple juice. George Washington apple juice.
George Washington apple juice, and finally,
Dash.
Dash. Mrs. Dash.
Your middle name is not Dash.
Yes, it is. Watch.
It's Dump.
How's it go?
Just tap it. There you go.
There's 4 dashes. That's a crazy mix. What will it taste like? Should I stir it? Should I just go in raw dog?
Just a little spoon. Get a spoon out.
I'll spin.
They're in the drawer.
I'll do this.
Okay.
A backwards whisk. It's called a. Anyway, here we go. This is for Leif Garrett, R.I.P.
Tiger beat.
Tiger beat. Tiger on the beat. Pazuzu. Wow. Whoa. Who knew? Who knew? The apple juice really covers up a lot of the alcohol. So you're like, I didn't really expect to get drunk on this drink. Officers will say, is that Tabasco in your breath? Maybe stay home. Maybe don't drive. Don't go to the horrible house on the hill filled with people, puppet tools, or puppet people, wherever they are. Just call it double times 5. It's a lot easier. Pazuzu. That's pretty good.
Pazuzu to all of you. And
Leif
thanks
Garrett's
for
alive,
watching.
Pazuzu.
That's the first thing I was going to say was I didn't know he was dead. But I love that you.
She just screamed at me. She goes, "You know he's still alive." I just looked it up. So
The rumor started right here
Yeah.
on the Drive-In Asylum double feature. So, cheers.
She
Did you
just
make the
said-
drink, Mike?
on the phone,
No.
so he's still alive.
I never. So Oregon has weird liquor laws, and you can only buy alcohol from like this time to this time in like state-run stores. And there's always, and so I'm like, I'll just drink beer and wine because I can't get my shit together enough to actually go purchase the ingredients for the drinks.
What are you drinking, Bill?
I got a whiskey on the rocks and change of $1 for the jukebox.
Aw. So here's some folks that are in this movie that are alive or dead. Who knows? Lovely, who is the wife of Papa Doc, who everybody's staying with, is Carolyn Steller, who is Leif Garrett and Don Lynn's mom. And she would go.
I love that you mentioned his mom and his sister, but you didn't mention that Leif Garrett himself was in the film.
He is.
That was a great moment.
I brought up that Leif Garrett's been in it a couple times, I think. I don't know. She also designed.
I meant in the drink video. That was this.
Yeah, his ghost. His ghost is in the movie. She designed the costumes for second time I'll mention this tonight, 1978 Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. She designed all the costumes for that movie. Dr. Harvey Beckman, who lives in the house, is Sorrel Brook. And his wife in this is Shelley Morrison, who, yes, is Rosario from Will and Grace. And then the handyman Ralph is the screenwriter John Duran. And then we have our kids, who are David, who's Leif Garrett, Army Lover Brian, Susan the Pyro Mo, who is Don Lynn, who is Donna in the Walking Tall movies. And then we have Sister Hannah, who is an albino nun. The real crazy thing, Bill, the other title for this, and I don't know if it ever played, if you saw anything, Tantrums was the other title that this supposedly played under.
Never saw it as Tantrums. Never.
Yeah, never saw it as that. This is not my favorite Jerry Gross tagline. My favorite Jerry Gross tagline is Teenage Mother, she's 9 months of trouble, which is the greatest tagline ever in the history of movies, I really think.
Teenage Mother.
Teenage Mother. That's Jerry Gross doing that intro there. Original director Sean McGregor was fired from the production after his footage was unusable, and David Sheldon finished the movie. You can kind of tell that they switch interior locations because there's no continuity behind the backgrounds of these shots. By the times these reshoots also happened, Leif had cut his hair, so he has a wig that you can see, a Laurie Strode style wig that you can point out several times throughout this. Even stranger, Sean McGregor was in a psychiatric ward immediately after leaving this movie and was dating Gail Smale, who played Sister Hannah. Well, she's underage and in a nun costume and rose-colored glasses to hide the fact that she was so young and a legitimate albino, not just in the story of the movie. She really is. Also, Leif Garrett watches his real mom be nude and be in a bathtub, and you'll see. It's no spoilers. You saw it in the poster. Something happens to his mom in that bathtub.
It's in the trailer too.
Yeah, exactly.
She's not his mom in the movie.
No.
She's his mom in real life.
Yeah, but still, it's weird.
As if that makes it any better.
Rosario died in real life, right?
I'm not the person to ask this after the Leif Garrett thing. I'm not the arbiter of.
I don't know.
Yeah. But I also said this is the horror movie version of Home Alone. If you like the wacky traps of Home Alone, imagine 5 kids doing it. Also imagine that they're completely evil. So I don't get the People Toys title, honestly, or like the kids playing with the adults. It seems like such a far way to go to explain the title. Like
the end scene is where you get the People Toys action.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of a long wait for not a big payoff. So maybe that's why they changed the title.
Devil Times 5 is like, yeah, that's a crazy title. And it feels like a very mid-70s, like Omen-y kind of title. And like, yeah, I'd see that. Versus like People Toys. Like, yeah, I guess. Is it like a wacky comedy? It looks like it from the, but it's not.
Horrible House on the Hill is like has no nuance. Like,
yeah.
There's no way to like read it. There's no subtext. Like, I like that title the best, I think, just because it's the most, and it has that rip off like Hallmark releasing ad campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does fit in with Last House on the Left. Don't look in the basement. There was a house location. I'm pretty sure that was not Hallmark Releasing that did that. Although Hallmark Releasing did put out a movie that was very mysterious. Chris Poggioli's, Temple of Schlock. He had a post about this on the internet years ago. Like, what is this movie? Because nobody knows. It's called The House by the Hill. And it's just one of those generic titles. You're like, and it had one of those Hallmarky ad campaigns that didn't have anybody from the movie in it. It was just a woman looking horrified. And it's just one of those titles that no one can confirm what it was. For years, he said, I thought it was The Horrible House on the Hill, that they just changed the title and put it out. But then he found an ad that had House by the Hill and The Horrible House on the Hill playing. So it couldn't have been this movie. The mystery still goes on. No.
Another house that I like.
Mm-hmm. And The House That Screamed.
Yes.
Oh, I hate when the house screams.
I hate what if the house that screamed and the night that God screamed were at the same time? It would just be all screaming.
Well, then you could put it with the school that couldn't scream.
Oh, man.
Because that would even it out.
The school that couldn't scream.
Oh, man.
You talked about that in your appearance, too, on
did.
Jalo of the Month.
I'm astounded that that movie played under so many titles. My favorite title for that one, Mike, is the Rah Rah Girls, where they're like, oh, it's a wacky teen comedy. No, it's not. At no time is it ever wacky or it has teenagers in it.
Well, there is that one line, I think, when like they're talking to the teacher and they're like, so what's it like being a teacher in this school? And he's like, oh, these girls, in every girls' school it's the same. Lesbian games.
My favorite part of that movie is just even when the girls are so degenerative in that movie that they go into a shower scene and they're all smoking.
Yeah.
It's the biggest shower. It's like a catacomb shower. And they're all just lit up and smoking. And Joe D'Amato is like, yeah, time to film. Let's do it.
Yeah, I know. It's like when you find out like who the killer is and why he's killing him, you're like, well, I mean, he kind of had a point.
That place is lit up like the Temple of Sappho in the
Oh.
school that couldn't scream. Oh my God. We saw that at the drive-in and I was just mesmerized by that whole sequence. I'm like, this is so weird that this is in this movie.
That's what
I don't
really
know,
blew my mind doing research for that episode of the podcast was I would think that there would be at least another Giallo that was a sequel. But that trilogy and then the Nothing Underneath trilogy are the only two that I even talked to Troy Howarth and a few other folks about it. And there's nothing else. Those are it. There are remakes more to the point, like, Blood and Black Lace was remade 1 billion times. But
yeah, and then there's those ones like those Carol Baker, Umberto Lenzi movies that kind of seem like they all take place in the same universe. They even have the same like pop songs on the soundtrack, but she's playing different characters in each one. So
yeah, those are my favorites though, because like I really like the pre-Argento Giallos like that, especially the Lenzi ones, because like they're just really glamorous. Like I want to just live in that world is just so glamorous and gorgeous.
I know, and Carol Baker has that like Pennsylvania accent. Like she's
yeah,
in Italy.
exactly.
She's like,
I love it.
turn down my bed. I want to take a nap.
I can't picture her as anybody except Mrs. Aiken from Andy Warhol's Bad.
Mhm.
Yeah. I love that that's the first major movie she made after coming back from Italy.
I know she kind of did like a Camille Keaton thing where she went away and did Italian movies, and then she comes back and does like this weird, like notorious, like New York indie.
I want to have that toilet talk in my kitchen.
And when she was on talk shows, she would like never really talk about her Italian movies. She was like kind of embarrassed by them. Meanwhile, those are what I love her for.
Well, I think it's because, like she had this career in Hollywood where she was known for just being, it was like she was provocative.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she went to Italy, she did everything that she only suggested in her American movies.
Yeah.
Like she'd do these really corny, like, I mean, they're really tame now, but it's like she'd have like these nude shower scenes and stuff. And like, so I think she probably just thought that like she hit rock bottom at the time.
Well, I'm sure if she was like, how do I explain to people on Merv Griffin that I was in a movie where I was dating a brother and sister, but maybe they weren't brother and sister.
Well, the thing is like talk show audiences are so middle of the road and boring. Like I remember seeing like Alan Kaiser, like the guy who played Bubba on Mama's Family, like on a talk show. And he was like, I was in a movie called Night of the Creeps. And the whole audience is like, oh my God. Like what is this horrible B movie? And it's like, it's Night of the Creeps. It was like, I got a nationwide release. It's like, like why, like if it's not, I don't know what, The Little Mermaid or something, they think it's like the most scandalous B movie ever.
I saw that he's doing a convention with Vicki Lawrence, and there's gonna be like a Mama's Family photo op where you can get pictures with like 3 of them.
I love how she's like Mama's age now.
Oh, yeah, that's what's crazy. Is like she's finally aged to the point that she doesn't have to wear the makeup anymore.
Right.
Also, I know Bill wants to get the movie, but one more thing, a third segment thing to say. I really love that Mama's Family went from being on like the Carol Burnett shows, like high-end TV, right? Like it's like, it won awards and it was like prestige. And Mama's Family is the exact opposite. It was on like at 10 o'clock on a Saturday syndicated show. And then it was on, all the time. And I loved it.
Yeah, Mama's Family is sort of like when it's like Airport.
Yeah.
Like the first Airport was nominated for an Oscar. And then by the time the last Airport movie came along, it was like starring Charo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess what side?
Charo is a star. Charo is a star.
Hey, I love Mama's Family. Like you can pry those shitty syndicated episodes of Mama's Family out of my cold dead hands. Like I love that show.
Well, most of the people that were in Airport didn't want to be in it because they thought it was junky. Like Dean Martin did it for points. He made like $15 million off that movie in the mid '60s, which is
Airport. It was a crazy hit.
Yeah,
I have like the old like the like you remember that when I showed you that Variety thing I have where like Bird with the Crystal Plumage is like at the top of the list. Like all the other movies are like grossed 4 million, 5 million, 4 million, 5 million. Airport 25 million.
Yeah.
And
it played theaters forever. Like it was like a big deal for a long time.
All right, let's get to our second feature of the night: The Horrible House on the Hill, aka Devil Times 5, aka People Toys, It's on Tubi under the title "The Horrible House on the Hill," and it's the beautiful, cleaned up Blu-ray cut. So that's definitely the one you're gonna watch. I know there's commercials, but come back after the movie. We'll have lots more to say. Mike's coming back, right?
Yeah.
Mike? Are you coming back?
Me?
Yes, you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll see you on the third segment.